Um, Hi, I'm Nick Menda. I am product owner for Hyrax. I'm also head of digital initiatives at Tufts University Tisch Library, which is in Medford, Massachusetts. Um, and also I'm speaking with Randall Floyd today, Hyrax tech lead at IU Bloomington, and Daniel Pierce is the other Hyrax tech lead also at IU Bloomington. This is what Hyrax is. If you're not familiar, customizable Samvera powered repository platform, which you could use for institutional data and digital collections repository use cases. Um, and we did a lot of technical work since last May when we gave our last update at Samvera Virtual Connect, releasing Hyrax 5.2 in July. And now I'm going to turn it over to Randall to talk more specifically about what we've worked on and what that means for the future.
Thanks, Nick. Again, I'm Randall Floyd, current Hyrax tech lead that I share with my esteemed colleague Daniel Pierce, also from Indiana University. Just a quick caveat here is I volunteered for these series of slides just this morning and then realized actually I have no time to prepare for this. So that's okay. Participation over perfection, I always say. Yeah, so anyway, this is a just a quick changelog screenshot. But I would say that there's a lot of stuff that's been going on that's not just in the current 5.2 release, which I'll get to in just a little bit also. But so what I wanted to point out here without getting in the weeds on anything in particular, because there's a lot to cover. One thing you'll see starting to emerge in this release is a much closer working relationship with the dev teams around Haiku, starting to get a lot of the fruits from their labor around Haiku, getting that down officially down into Hyrax itself. They're trying to work towards a point in time where they can use a released version of Hyrax instead of custom uh, version of their own that has a lot of these things that they've been working on. So that's been going through this process of trying to shepherd in a lot of the things that they've been working on. So, if you read this list of commits, it may not make, they may not be that intuitive as to what they are, but collectively they represent this effort to get things headed back down into Hyrax from Haiku, which we deeply, deeply appreciate. Another thing that's in here, a standout thing, is that the last time we reported on our big release that brought us up to support for Rails 7.2 and Ruby 3.3, we dropped Rails 6 from that support matrix in doing so, and we kind of stepped on our own promise as implied by our versioning semantics. So one of the first things that we queued up to get into a follow-on release was adding that support back in. So that's a standout item on this particular list. Let's see. On this particular list, another thing I think is noteworthy is again this work coming down stream to us from Haiku is a Redis-based index adapter, which is I won't try to get into that, but it's a way to kind of defer strategically collect and defer indexing, because indexing has kind of had a lot of been a pain point in Hyrax generally in terms of performance, and sometimes things don't come out all correctly in the end due to conditions that exist, kind of collectively in context while you're running big jobs. So that's a big help with that. There's been some improvements with the migration adapters. Let's see. I'm not sure if there's anything else I want to try to get into specifically from this list. So we'll just go to the next screen there. So at the same time, though, again, going back to this effort to try to get things headed down into Hyrax that Haiku is specifically needing from Hyrax, but that the whole community has also been looking forward to and waiting for. The big standout there being flexible metadata. And this is something that has been out there before in the form of a gem called Allenson Flex, but the effort now is to try to get that as an actual core feature into the Hyrax as a feature itself. And so that first surfaced in Haiku that currently is a supported fully working feature in Haiku. And I have been I took the lead on getting helping Rob and Notch8 dev teams to get that shepherded into Hyrax. So it's not currently in a Hyrax release, but it currently is actually in the code base at the current commit level. And we have that deployed to two of our new Rax test and development instances. And we kind of keep getting caught in sprint cycles as getting that fully functional. And we've had to do, a little bit more interactive work with Notch8 teams and getting that fully worked out to work proper in Hyrax. And so that's almost working. It's not quite working, but we're almost there. So that's a big thing. I think there was a workshop earlier this week on kind of the user facing from a collection repository manager perspective, and then I have one on Friday that kind of is going to try to bring repository managers and developers and DevOps people into one conversation to show kind of like what the technical challenges are in having this live in your Hyrax instance. So anyway, it's in Hyrax. It doesn't go enabled by default because there's quite a bit around that. So anyway, moving on, another big thing that we've been working on along the way this whole year is Fedora 6, because the last big releases we saw full feature availability of Fedora 6 on Valkyrie, but there is, just an inherent disparity in performance between Fedora 6 implementation and a Postgres database implementation, which would, inherently make sense. But there were some standout things in the testing matrix that were problems that we actually were able to find solutions for. And so we're kind of still in this iterative process of closing up that disparity and then inviting more testing and kind of just a feedback loop there of community-based testing to try to bear out, as much as we can wring out of that disparity as possible. So that's been ongoing. In progress, as was mentioned earlier about the core organization and what that is. Specifically, though, we're working, trying to follow a project going on with that group led by Paul Walk and his teams, his dev teams, to develop a small set of gems that puts core notification ability into Hyrax. So it's two-part. It's a inbox API that would be in a small standalone Rails API service, and then the ability for Hyrax itself to be able to message back and forth with that inbox via workflows inside of Hyrax itself. So we're advising with that group to try to set the stage for them to be able to release that as a gem and to get that so that people can enable that within their Hyrax applications. Another big standout item that is extremely helpful that Daniel's taken the lead on is getting bulk racks, the bulk importer working in our new Rax instances, which will help greatly with our testing matrix that we always run through when we're working on releases and bug fixing, because those scripted tests require staging up lots of items and that sort of thing. So that should help tremendously with that. And then I have been leading the effort. We just got through adding Rails 7.2 support, but now we're trying to make sure that we're staying on top of Rails 8 as well. And so I've been starting that effort. And then let's see what's on our next steps. Yeah, so currently flexible metadata is in the Hyrax code. You would have to, either grab a current commit or some tagged uh, version of some sort to get that. But we need to get that packaged up and get it tested and get it out into an actual release. And that's kind of where we're at, is we're trying to get it onto an environment so that the full we can go through the full testing matrix as we do, so we can bless that release and get it actually out there. Then we have, like I described this, we have this iterative process of continuing to try to identify where we can get more performance, close up the performance disparity with Fedora 6. I do want to specifically point out with that, though, when we see standout items in the matrix that are performance issues with Fedora 6, it is almost entirely something on the Hyrax side that we can see and identify as being the way that Fedora 6 is being used, and not an inherent performance problem with Fedora 6 specifically. So I like to make that point anytime this topic comes up. We discovered, or we were given the opportunity to work through expose some more accessibility things. We're in a really good position with lots of people's help, just being in the code base and finding places that we know were accessibility problems, and getting the Hyrax code itself to produce much more compliant responses and such. But we had two interesting opportunities. One was we became aware of some work from Ohio State that has some code that we should be able to find a way to integrate that adds alt text onto some troublesome places that we know it's missing, like getting it into file set, which is kind of like a page level thing within a Hyrax work, so that it can surface up into the universal viewer, which is always a place where those kind of missing alt text things tend to surface. Another was, let me check, make sure I got this right. So we worked with Fable through Princeton and set a screen reader tester loose on Hyrax, and was able to identify some places in the public views and the dashboard to help identify some ways in which Hyrax could be more friendly to screen readers. And we have some stories on the board that would be great first time contributor stories for someone to join up and see if they could be interested in those. Again, working to make sure that we're staying on top of those dependencies. I was mentioned in the Avalon efforts that a lot of dependency work was going on there, and I think we're going to see some of the fruits of their labor that paves the way for that being able to come into Hyrax via that work. Similarly, we're doing work in our own services at Indiana University, our non-Avalon work that paves the way for some of the Solar 9 dependency support. And then have talked about how we're hoping to get kind of out of the big kind of lower level back end work that we've been stuck in for a while, and trying to attract people's interest in collaborating and working on sprints with us for things that are much more feature and user facing. And some things we've identified there kind of all revolve around IIIF. I know there's a lot of interest with being able to produce collection level manifests, being able to, or for Hyrax to not be so opinionated about how it provides media players and that sort of thing. And then looking at the ability to take advantage of things in the IIIF specs for things like captioning. So I think that gets us through most of what we've been working on since the last time we reported. tried to make quick work of that because there was a lot, but I obviously would be able to answer something more specific if someone thinks of something that I did not cover that they were hoping to hear.
Thank you, Randall. And it's back to me for the conclusion of this. I'm going to talk about other related groups that work on or talk about Hyrax. So the first is the Hyrax Maintenance Working Group. This is how we support the core maintenance and development for Hyrax. We work on solving bugs as well as other issues and work on some features as well as reviewing any pull requests that come in through the community or from members of the working group themselves. We meet every 2 weeks, so 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. We don't alter that schedule even when there are holidays or like in the case of this week, we're actually currently in a sprint cycle, but we're kind of deferring most of that work until next week since all of us are here right now. We use the Hyrax channel on the Samvera Slack community. And our current sprint will be happening through the end of next week. We meet every day at 1 p.m. Eastern time. We have stand up on Zoom where we can answer any questions, provide guidance, and then sometimes set other meetings to help work through more complicated issues. Like I said, we don't alter the schedule. So the next cycle after this one, or one of the next ones, will be during the week of Thanksgiving. Within that second week will be the week of our community sprint. So a great time for those who are interested in getting involved with working on Hyrax on documentation issues or on some of the accessibility issues, which Randall mentioned, or maybe some of the big picture things that might impact what you're working on at your institution that also might be a benefit to include back into Hyrax itself. So we hope to see you there. This is most of the people who join on a weekly or on a sprint basis. So we have Daniel and Randall, as well as Rebecca, our previous product owner, and special thanks to Christine and Randy, who are there most of the time. Other folks have shown up and done great work doing testing or contributing code back to Hyrax, and we really appreciate everyone that comes. All are welcome. We hope to see you at a future meeting. And finally, I'll talk about the Hyrax Interest Group. This is where you can come to learn about Hyrax, learn about what Hyrax is, what we're currently working on, and discuss issues that might come up that require a bunch of us to talk about things and to sort issues out rather than working through stuff asynchronously on Slack. We're also the core leadership and management body for the Hyrax roadmap and the interest group home for the Hyrax maintenance working group. We meet every month, the second Wednesday of the month. It's a half-an-hour meeting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And our next meeting is in a couple of weeks, Wednesday, November 12th. And you can check out more ongoing information, again, on the Hyrax channel on Slack. Thank you very much for listening to us today. Thanks to those who've helped us out along the way and who continue to join us and keep Hyrax going.